Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, September 23rd, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feasts and Marian meditations. Well, to start us off, we take our lead from the Abbot Orsini, who says they celebrate Our Lady of Valvanera in Spain. He says that this image was found in an oak on the very spot where is now seen the magnificent church which Alphonsus IV, King of Castile, rebuilt. Interesting devotion there. Likewise, we go to Likasbild in Freising in Bavaria, Germany. So, X-rays show that the underlying image of the Black Madonna of Freising was painted probably around the year 1100. But tradition holds it to have been the work of Saint Luke the Evangelist, which is why it's called Likasbild, right? Or at least a copy of his work. Whatever. Traditions, X-rays, I don't know how you determine the dates of things from X-rays. I'm sure somebody can tell me that, but in any event. The icon was in Constantinople in 1235 when Manuel II Paleologos added a silver frame with the title Hope of the Hopeless. The image was repainted in the early 1300s before coming into the possession of the De la Scala family of Milan. On September 23rd, 1440, so that's why we celebrate today, Bishop Nicholas de la Scala donated it to his cathedral in Freising, where it was displayed in a magnificent altarpiece on the four feasts of the Virgin, right? The Likasbild is now in the Diocesan Museum. That's not a great place for it, but okay, at least it's being protected. In Cantu, in Como, Lombardy, Italy, they celebrate the Madonna dei Miracoli because this painting was solemnly crowned on this day in 1928. Likewise, they celebrate La Virgen del Niño Perdido, so that's the Virgin of the Lost Child, in Caudiel, in Castellón, in Valencia, Spain. Likewise, this statue was crowned solemnly on this day in 1956. And last but not least, also in Lampedusa in Sicily, Italy. I believe we had something from Lampedusa yesterday or 2 days. Yep, yesterday. Yesterday we celebrate Madonna del Porto, Our Lady of the Port, but now it's Madonna del Mare, Our Lady of the Sea. Madonna of the Sea. Yep. So this commemorates a statue that was installed underwater in 1979. So this one is actually under the water. The photographer Roberto Merlo donated the life-size bronze statue of Our Lady of the Sea to Lampedusa in thanks for helps he received after suffering an embolus while diving there. In St. Peter's Square in Rome, Pope St. John Paul II blessed the statue on July 18th, 1979. And on September 23rd, today, it was placed about 50 feet deep on the seafloor, at Lampedusa in a grotto near Rabbit Island, where I am told it remains a favorite attraction of scuba divers. So that's what we're celebrating in the Marian world today on September 23rd. For today's reading from True Devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary by St. Louis de Montfort, we continue with Part 1 on devotion to Our Blessed Lady in general, and Section 1, Excellence and Necessity of Devotion to Our Blessed Lady. Now, yesterday we read through part of point 50, which talks about, St. Louis de Montfort explains why Mary must be revealed particularly in these last days, right? And we read 6 reasons why, and today we have the 7th, and from there, St. Louis de Montfort begins with different points, so the number of points continues, but they're sort of an elucidation or an explanation of the 7th point, which, again, we're talking about why devotion to Mary needs to increase and why we need to know her better, especially in the end times, right? And, well, it seems like, our world keeps getting crazier, so this is a very important thing to keep in mind. So this is the 7th point under point 50, and then we'll just continue. And lastly, Mary must be terrible to the devil and his crew, as an army ranged in battle, principally in these latter times, because the devil, knowing that he has but little time, and now less than ever, to destroy souls, will every day redouble his efforts and his combats. He will presently raise up new persecutions, and will put terrible snares before the faithful servants and true children of Mary, whom it gives him more trouble to surmount than it does to conquer others. So under this we have point 51. It is principally of these last and cruel persecutions of the devil, which shall go on increasing daily till the reign of the Antichrist, that we ought to first understand that first and celebrated prediction and curse of God, pronounced in the earthly paradise against the servant. It is our purpose to explain this here, for the glory of the Most Holy Virgin, for the salvation of her children, and for the confusion of the devil, inimicitas ponam inter te et mulierum, et semen tuum et semen ilius, ipsa conteret caput tuum, et tu insiderabis calceno eius. Okay, yeah, that's, if you know Latin, just let that slide. That's the reading from Genesis 3:15, right? It's the curse that God puts on the serpent. He says, I will put enmities between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. She will crush your head, and you will strike at his heel. Point 52. God has never made or formed but one enmity, right? But it is an irreconcilable one, which shall endure and develop even to the end. It is between Mary, his worthy mother, and the devil, between the children and servants of the Blessed Virgin, and the children and instruments of Lucifer. The most terrible of all the enemies which God has set up against the devil is his Holy Mother Mary. He has inspired her, even since the days of the earthly paradise, though she existed then only in his idea, with so much hatred against that cursed enemy of God, with so much industry in unveiling the malice of that old serpent, with so much power to conquer, to overthrow, and to crush that proud and pious rebel, that he fears her not only more than all the angels and men, but in some sense more than God himself. It is not that the anger, the hatred, and the power of God are not infinitely greater than those of the Blessed Virgin, for the perfections of Mary are limited. But it is first because Satan, being proud, suffers infinitely more from being beaten and punished by a little and humble handmaid of God, and her humility humbles him more than the divine power. And secondly, because God has given Mary such a great power against the devils, that, as they have often been obliged to confess, in spite of themselves, by the mouths of the possessed, they fear one of her sighs for a soul more than the prayers of all the saints, and one of her menaces against them more than all other torments.
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.